The chamber hummed softly as Mara stepped forward, the lantern casting warm golden light on spirals that now seemed to pulse with recognition. Each shadow stretched and twisted, responding to her presence, telling stories without words. The feather floated in the center, catching stray motes of dust, reflecting the glow like a tiny star. Mara's hands hovered over the pedestal, feeling a subtle vibration that seemed to echo the lighthouse's heartbeat. She realized that the silence she had feared was never empty. It had been waiting for her understanding, waiting for her to complete the circle of keepers. A faint breeze stirred the chamber, lifting pages of the journals as if they were breathing. Mara reached out, letting her fingers brush over the open pages, absorbing the written memories of those who had come before. Notes in faded ink told of storms weathered, lights kept steady, and secrets whispered across centuries. The feather hovered closer, guided perhaps by an unseen force, and Mara felt a quiet connection linking her to every previous keeper. The spirals on the walls glimmered faintly, revealing layers of symbols that pulsed with subtle light, guiding her gaze to corners she had not explored before. The sound of distant waves reached her ears, blending with the soft hum of the chamber, creating a rhythm that resonated through her chest. Mara followed the patterns on the walls, tracing her fingers along spirals that now felt alive. The lantern's glow reflected off the puddle, creating fragmented, dancing shadows that seemed to whisper secrets. Every artifact, every detail, every flicker of light carried meaning, as if the lighthouse itself was speaking to her, teaching her the legacy she had inherited. Her heartbeat synced with the rhythm of the room, a steady cadence that pulsed through the air like a living song. A sudden shimmer of golden dust rose from the floor, swirling gently around her hands. Mara leaned closer to the pedestal, feeling warmth radiate from the spirals, as though the stone itself was aware of her presence. Each shadow seemed to stretch toward her, bending softly around the lantern light, dancing in a delicate choreography. She realized that the feather, the journals, the light, and the spirals were not just objects, they were memories, consciousness woven into the chamber over centuries. Mara's chest swelled with understanding. She was no longer merely observing. She was part of this living memory. Her fingers brushed the spirals once more, and a soft resonance filled the room, vibrating through the stone floor and walls. The journal's pages rustled, revealing passages she hadn't noticed before, their ink faintly glowing in the lantern light. Mara's gaze followed the patterns, discovering subtle connections between symbols, spirals, and the feather's position. She realized that each previous keeper had left not just instructions, but pieces of themselves, traces of thought, of vigilance, of hope. The chamber pulsed in response, and Mara felt a profound responsibility settle over her, a mixture of awe, reverence, and quiet determination. A warm breeze whispered across her skin, lifting strands of hair and rustling the journal's pages. Mara closed her eyes, letting the ambient sounds, the distant sea, the hum of the spirals, the flutter of feathered motion, merge with her heartbeat. Every detail in the chamber seemed alive, dust motes swirling in the lantern glow, shadows bending and stretching, light reflecting on puddles. She felt the weight of centuries pressing gently upon her, a rhythm of vigilance and memory that now pulsed through her very being. Mara realized that this awakening was both an honor and a duty, an endless circle she was now part of. The pedestal glimmered faintly, and Mara leaned closer to trace the final spiral. It radiated warmth and a subtle energy that seemed to echo her heartbeat. The feather floated gently above, catching stray specks of golden dust. Mara's hands hovered over the journals once more, absorbing the legacy of every keeper who had preceded her. She felt the chamber exhale with her, a living entity that now recognized her as part of its memory. Every shadow, every reflection, every faint vibration in the walls spoke to her. She was ready. She lingered, letting her fingers trace the spirals again, feeling the subtle thrum of power beneath the stone. Every carved line, every etched symbol seemed to pulse with stories, with centuries of devotion, and she realized she could hear the faintest echoes of the keepers' thoughts, their quiet breaths, their unwavering vigilance. Lantern light spilled across the chamber, illuminating corners she had never explored. Shadows danced and flickered, creating ephemeral shapes that seemed almost alive. Mara walked slowly, absorbing the atmosphere, the pulse of memory, the whispers of light. The journal's pages fluttered, guided by an unseen rhythm, revealing secrets she had not understood before. Every detail, the feather, the spirals, the puddle, the journals, the reflections, was part of an intricate symphony, a living map of vigilance and memory. Mara's hands moved gracefully, almost reverently, along the artifacts, feeling the chamber's pulse synchronize with hers. She paused, noticing subtle reflections on the puddles that seemed to replay moments from the past, shadows of keepers walking silently, whispers threading through the air. Each movement, each flicker of dust, resonated with the harmony of memory, as if the chamber itself was performing an eternal dance. A subtle golden glow filled the air as the lantern burned steady in her hands. The feather descended gently, resting above the spirals as if acknowledging her presence. Mara's gaze swept the room, taking in every detail, every shadow, every reflection. The chamber vibrated softly with life, resonating through stone, ink, and light. She understood completely. She had become the lighthouse's living memory, its heartbeat, and its guardian. The legacy was now hers to protect, to honor, and to carry forward. She walked slowly toward the far wall, feeling the warmth of the spirals wrap around her like an embrace, the journal's whispers forming a melodic cadence that spoke of patience, endurance, and light. The feather floated alongside her, orbiting the space with a delicate, purposeful grace, and Mara could sense the weight and beauty of the lineage she had inherited. Finally, Mara exhaled deeply, letting the lantern's golden light fill the chamber. She felt the weight of centuries, the pulse of past keepers, and the quiet, relentless power of memory and light settle into her being. Every spiral, every artifact, every shadow, every feather, every whisper of silence had led her here. She was now inseparable from the chamber, a living witness, the lighthouse's eternal keeper. Mara understood that her role was both sacred and endless, to preserve the light, to honor the memory, to guide the future, and to let the rhythm of vigilance endure through her hands, her breath, and her steadfast heart. Every detail, the shimmer of dust in the glow, the reflections on the puddle, the gentle sway of the feather, the rustle of journal pages, was now part of her consciousness. She opened her eyes, calm and certain, ready to carry the lighthouse's legacy into the world. The light within her no longer needed walls or flame. It lived in her breath, her pulse, her gaze. As dawn unfolded beyond the horizon, Mara stepped forward, each heartbeat echoing with the rhythm of the sea, carrying the silence, the memory, and the light wherever she would go.